Hello everybody, my name is Quinn and today we are going to be talking about Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. The novel is a little hard to summarize without spoilers, but I'm going to try to do my best. The novel follows Etta, a violin prodigy who is kidnapped by a time-traveling family that she realizes she is a part of. In order to save her mother, who is kidnapped by the time-traveling family, Etta must travel through time to find an object that her mother has hidden from this big, powerful family. I want to start by saying that I didn't hate this book, but I also didn't love it. I thought there was too much hype around the book, and I think that my expectations might have been too high going into it, and that is why I was kind of a little disappointed. One of the main things I didn't like about Passenger was I was really engaged in the first 100 pages and I was really engaged in the last 100 pages, but the kind of 300 pages in the middle were kind of boring. However, I really did like the characters. I thought they were well-rounded and really well-written. However, sometimes I felt like I couldn't connect to them, and I think that was partly because of the way it was written. I think maybe I would have liked a dual first-person perspective, but that's just my opinion. I know all people don't feel that way. A lot of people like the third person, but personally, it just wasn't something I was into. I really did like the world of time travel and how unique it was, but there was almost too many rules, and sometimes it got really confusing, and I didn't know exactly if they were breaking a rule or following it, and it was kind of confused me a lot at many different times in the novel. One thing I really do applaud Alexandra Bracken on is her use of social issues in this novel. She dealt with issues of racism and misogyny, but she didn't try to sugarcoat it. She told it as it was, and that was a really important thing that you usually don't see in YA, because Nicholas is a person of color, and he has to deal with the racisms of various different time periods in the novel, and he never really travels to a time period where he doesn't feel this harsh oppression. I also think that it's very important that Alexandra Bracken doesn't try to, say that the modern world is perfect in terms of racism. Etta admits that her world isn't perfect. While it may be better than 1776, we still have problems, and I think it's very important that that is made clear. But overall, I really applaud Alexandra Bracken for touching on these issues in YA because I don't think that they're mentioned enough. All that being said, I probably will still read Wayfair, which is going to be the second novel in this duology, just because I want to see how it turns out, because it did leave on kind of a cliffhanger, but it wasn't my favorite book. That is it for the non-spoiler section. If you haven't read Passenger yet, please leave this video. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but all of you who have, please keep on watching. Alexandra Bracken creates a lot of well-rounded characters who do have flaws, but they do have positive attributes, and I think they're blended together in a very skillful way. First of all, we have Nicholas, and while he is a gentleman and he is chivalrous and he always protects Etta, he does lie to her throughout the entire novel pretty much until the very end, and that kind of hinders his character and it weighs on his conscience a lot. I think a lot of booktubers are kind of criticizing the trope of badass female characters who are just badass, they're nothing else, and I don't really think Etta is that at all. I think she does have her badass moments, but she definitely knows when to accept help, and she can be vulnerable at times, but she is very brave. I think Etta grows the most, mostly just because of the situation. She has to kind of learn to be independent and brave when she has been stuck inside this little box and only been taught one thing her whole life, and she's kind of isolated herself from the world, and now she's literally thrust into so many different eras, and she has to learn to be on her own and find out who she really is. Now, I know this is probably going to be a little controversial, but I really didn't mind Sophia's character as much as a lot of other people did. I feel like I understood her character very well. She hasn't been exposed to women's rights. She's been oppressed her whole life. The scene where she's asking Etta about, her time and women are voting and they're running for president and they have power, it made me really sad that she had never experienced that, and I really, I pitied her. I know she doesn't always go about things in the right way, clearly, as we see in the end, but I understand why she does everything in the way she does it. She's just trying to adapt to a world where she doesn't have any rights, and she kind of has to be manipulative to get what she wants because there's no other way for her to go about it. Now, Cyrus. I think his character is really interesting. Now, he is an evil bastard, but he's a really interesting character. He reminds me a lot of the King from the Throne of Glass series in the way that they're both very manipulative and cold, and they don't really care about their family. I just couldn't believe how much Cyrus sacrificed his family's lives for this one thing, to get back this one person. And while he does have his admirable quality, he does want to get his wife back, but how many people's lives is he going to put in jeopardy to do that? But I do definitely think that when they were time traveling, it was one of the most uninteresting parts of the book for me, and I think that's kind of a shame. I didn't really get into the time traveling until they got to their last destination, was Damascus, I believe. I think I could really picture that world a lot better than all of the other places she described, but I really wasn't interested. Like, they didn't do a lot in Cambodia, and they didn't really do much of anything in Paris. They spent a lot of time in World War II, but a lot of it was spent underground, and there wasn't a lot happening other than being chased. Which, you know, you can be chased a couple times, but I didn't really feel like the thorns were well enough described that I was into the chase all that much. Come on, guys, can we really talk about how Etta reacted to Nicholas's news? I feel like she was way too calm. I know if it was me, I would have been, like, obviously I would have understood that this is how he is going to make his life. But he could have told her way before, and it probably would have been okay. But he lies to her the whole novel. He kisses her and knows that he's lying to her, and she's just kind of like, I wish she was just a little more angry. It would have felt a little more believable. A lot of people had problem with the Insta love feel of this book, and I can't say that I disagree. I do think that they got together a little too quick, and the first time they saw each other, it was like, boom, I love you. Wish they had kind of slowed that down a little bit, but I do feel that their romance was one of the most believable parts of the book. I felt that they really truly loved each other and accepted each other for who they were, even though they weren't perfect. Probably my favorite part of the novel, though, was when Rose comes in at the end and she's like, who are you, Nicholas? And he's like, you know, I've been the one that's been guiding your daughter around. Well, you sent her on some crazy adventure to find something that you hid. She's very defensive, but she's also very strong and calm, and her character's really interesting. I definitely want to find out more about Rose in Wayfair, because we get little snippets of her life, but we don't get the whole story. We only get Etta's perspective and what she thinks Rose's backstory was, but we don't truly understand what Rose's backstory was, and I think that in Wayfair we definitely need Rose's perspective as she talks to Etta, and I think that will happen. Probably the part that made me the most mad in the novel, but probably the thing I liked the most because I didn't see it happening, was when Rose said that she killed Alice. I did not see that coming, and I really don't truly understand why she killed her at that moment. Yes, she was probably going to take Etta away, but I don't think that murder was the correct way to do it. And I think that Etta is able to forgive a lot, but she won't be able to forget this. And I really liked when Nicholas was like, you know, I have to go find Etta. I can't let Rose get to her first because I have to be the one to explain that she killed Alice because Rose won't tell her. And I think that's when I realized that Nicholas was truly in love with her. He doesn't want to hurt her, but he needs her to know the truth. Sophia was so stupid for trusting those guardians when they were really thorns. And I honestly felt like Etta should have warned her, though. She knew that they were talking about thorns, and she knew that they had kidnapped her before and that they were kind of sketchy, but she didn't say anything, and in result she put her whole future in jeopardy. I think that sometimes Etta didn't put quite all the pieces together, and I think that was one of the times that could have saved her and could have been, you know, a story changer in that respect. I did feel really bad for Sophia when they found her beaten and bloodied up in the middle of the desert, left alone to die. I do get that that's how she left Etta and Nicholas. I really love Sophia's character, and I really hope that at the end of Wayfair, her, Nicholas, and Etta are all on the same team, because I think that once Sophia is shown the light and what really should happen, that she will go to their side, and I think there's still hope for Sophia yet. So basically, this is what I want to see out of Wayfair. I want to know more about Rose's backstory. I kind of want Alice to be saved and stay alive if that's all humanly possible. I would love Etta and Nicholas to finally be together, preferably in Etta's time. I want Sophia to join sides with Nicholas and Etta, I would love for Julian to be alive, and I really want to know more about Etta's father, and hopefully Cyrus dies because he's evil and I don't really like him, and I really hope that they destroy the astrolabe because I think it's just the root of all evil. Thank you guys so much for watching my review of Passenger. I know I have a slightly unpopular opinion of the book, but I hope you were able to find some things that you were able to relate to. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I will see you next week. Thanks, guys!